You're listening to Give Yourself Some Leeway with me, your host, Eugene Lee. I spent the last 4 years trying to discover how to break the burnout cycle. And as a high achiever in a fast-paced world, it's very easy to slip back into old habits that leave you feeling overwhelmed and left behind. If you're anything like me, then you need to hear this. It's not your fault. Each episode is dedicated to help break the stigma around mental health in the workplace, end burnout culture for good, and the action steps that you can take today to do your part towards your personal growth and success. I am so happy that you're here today, and thank you again for joining us. Welcome to 2024, and I hope you all enjoyed the holidays, that you took some time to spend with loved ones, get out and meet friends, and also make sure you made some space for yourself. And one of the hardest things that I took on over the past 2 weeks was that I would do nothing, that I would take a step back and just self-reflect, spend time with family, and languish a bit to get that default mode to refresh my batteries, recharge my batteries, refresh my mind. And it did get challenging towards the end of the 2 weeks. I started feeling the restlessness again. But again, reassuring myself, I put in the block where I did not take my laptop, I did not take any of my gear with me so that I couldn't set up and start doing research or anything. I was like, no, this is a complete reset that I need over these 2 weeks before I can get back on track for 2024. And one of the things that I'm trying not to rant about today is New Year's resolutions. I have made it very clear last year. I went on one hell of a rant last year. So instead, I'm just going to put that in the show notes. If you want to check out why I don't want you wasting your time on New Year's resolutions, I'm going to stick that in the show notes. Just a quick recap, basically. It's like people making vague New Year's resolutions that they're going to be better this year, or, oh, I'm going to eat more healthy, or I'm going to go to the gym more often, but not being specific about it. Or deciding on the 1st of January that, oh, I'm not going to drink ever again and not going to smoke. And you still have social events in the first 2 weeks of January. And next thing you go to your first social event and you end up drinking and smoking, being like, oh, well, I made it 4 days into January. Maybe I'll try again next year and just go back to normal. And yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. I would much rather, if you took the month of January, if you didn't have the time to reflect over the Christmas period, that you take some time to reflect on how do you want to grow over the course of the next year? Where do you want to see yourself at the end of 2024? I'm also going to drop again, just before I rant on that too, about setting specific goals, setting smart goals. Make sure that you're not saying, oh, I just want to eat more healthy for the year. Oh, I'm going to do more to support my growth, and leave it as vague as that, because you're not giving yourself any action steps to take. So you need to be smart. You need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based with your goals. I'll also drop that episode 15 in the show notes. But what I really wanted to cover today, that when it comes to goal setting, especially when you're a high achiever, you want to make sure that when you set a goal, it will be productive. There's a lot of the time where we are initially motivated by extrinsic factors like, oh, if I do this, I will have a six pack by summer. Or, oh, if I do this, it will set me up for leaving my day job and making millions online. And you're motivated by extrinsic factors like what other people think of you, that external validation, or something like earning millions and getting that financial freedom, where what you're lacking is the intrinsic motivation. And that's what I want to cover today. What are the intrinsic motivational factors that help you stay consistent with new habits, new disciplines, uh, areas of your life where you can improve exponentially in a very short period of time. And also look at it as a long game, that this will help to improve your overall quality of life, your overall life satisfaction for maybe the next 10, 20, 30 years. The first category is aliveness. What gives you a sense of presence, a sense of consciousness in what you do? What makes you feel like you're actually living in the moment? And this is something we often overlook in our hectic lives. We're living on autopilot, eat, sleep, work, repeat, and not actually taking the time to be like, oh, is this how I want to live the rest of my life? Just constantly grinding? Is this, does this excite me every day? And when you want to set a goal, you want to make sure that, is this helping me acknowledge what I'm doing every day? Is it helping me acknowledge that, I'm more aware of my environment? I'm more aware of the people around me who I spend that time with? Am I more aware of how I feel myself? And taking that time for self reflection is probably one of the most prominent things that you can do at the start of the year, especially in quiet time like January. There's going to be, less social events. You're going to go back into there's kind of that lull in January. And there's no better time to just take that moment to reflect on, how can I be more excited about what I do? Do I need more adventure in my life? Do I need to focus on my own health and fitness? Is that something that will help me feel more conscious of myself, make me feel more alive and have more energy for years to come? And just to make sure that, as we go through this episode, you can pause when you need to. I'm going to keep on asking these questions. I want you to take action, not just listen to this episode, but actually take the action steps. Go back over this and self reflect. What three things could you do in the next year that will make you feel more alive each day? Again, maybe it's your health and fitness. Maybe if you were healthier, if you were fitter, that you might have more energy to spend time with others. You might have higher satisfaction in the activities that you do if you didn't feel so fatigued. Maybe you feel so stressed out at work, you want something to make you feel excited again. Maybe it's taking a longer breaks. Maybe it's making that time on your days off to spend with loved ones. Or maybe you're looking for that sense of adventure. Maybe you need a ski holiday. Maybe you have to look forward to something else that makes the sacrifice and effort that you put into your work worthwhile. That you can go off on an adventure with your friends and your family. The second category is deep connections. And often we overlook this as well when we're living such busy, hectic lives and always looking to achieve more. We often overlook how little time we spend with those who matter most to us, with our loved ones, our partner, our family, our friends. When was the last time that we had a deep, meaningful conversation with them? When was the last time that we felt truly intimate? And I remember in my conversation with Jim Young on expansive intimacy, not having this connection, this intimacy in our lives often leads to burnout if we forget how to feel or to connect with others. That can all lead to the detriment of your down spiral. So, again, I want you to take notes again, maybe pause, and what are three things that you could do to deepen your relationships in major areas of your life? Think about, how could you deepen your relationship with your partner? How could you deepen your relationship with your family or with your friends? Next is a meaningful pursuit, that intrinsic motivation. Again, as I said, the extrinsic motivation you might have is, oh, it might get me more money down the line. It might give me that external validation. But these are things that are very short lived. It's like that spark of motivation that gets you going, that gets you back in the gym, that gets you working on an online course, that it gets you started, but it doesn't keep you motivated long term. It doesn't keep you in the long game. Whereas an intrinsic motivation is an action that you take that gives you a sense of purpose and a sense of fulfillment long term. That you know that if I keep this up long term, it brings me joy, brings me happiness, gives me a sense of fulfillment that I'm contributing to something bigger here. So, what would be a meaningful pursuit for you? A lot of people have meaning in their lives, why they do something. Like if you are a parent and you're doing this because in the long term, I need to support my family, I need to support my kids. Or you're like, in your career, yes, long term, I want to be the CEO, I want to be the director of this company. But if you burn out along the way, then that's not going to serve you in any way. That's not going to serve your career. It might actually affect the relationships with colleagues, with customers, with clients, with family and friends along the way. And why should you sacrifice all that for the sake of your career? So, what would be a meaningful pursuit? What action could you take that gives you purpose, that gives you fulfillment, to stay in the long game, to grow? And when it comes to thinking about growth, I like to gamify it in a way that I'm not looking at something that is completely new, that's so daunting that I've no idea where to start. Instead, I think of something like, what's an area of my life that I want to level up in now? For instance, let's take health and fitness. I didn't say, oh, I want to be a bodybuilder overnight or anything, something that I had no idea where to start. First of all, think of something simple. I was like, okay, let's start with hydration. I can start with water. Maybe I can start with a glass of water at the start of every day and get consistent with that first. Once I build up that routine, let's look at something else. Next thing I look at, okay, maybe I can dial in my nutrition a bit better. Maybe eat a bit more protein, eat a bit more vegetables, and try to limit how much snacks I eat during the day. And from there, okay, now that I have a bit more energy, maybe I can fit in an exercise routine, something that's manageable 2 or 3 days a week, and maybe try and walk a bit more. And little by little, you're leveling up, keeping all of those habits consistently and kind of stacking those habits over time. And you're not going to see changes overnight, but you're definitely going to feel a lot better by the end of the year. So even if it was something as simple as hydrating, making sure that you got your water intake and eating more fruit and vegetables. So think about those different areas in your life where you want to level up. Maybe it's your health, your wealth, your relationships, your career. What one would you like to grow up a level in? How would you level up in your health right now? What's one thing you could do to level up your health right now? What's one thing you could do to level up your career? Now we'll do a quick recap on those four areas. So when you're thinking of what goal or what resolution you want to do for this year, how do you want to grow in 2024? Make sure that at least one of these categories is reflected in your goal, because if none of these four categories are in it, it's either something that you saw on a whim on the internet and it's like, oh, that's trending, I'll give that a go. And if you fail, you fail, you're not going to care about it. But it's not actually congruent with your values or what you want to achieve in life. So, first is aliveness. What three things could you do in the next year that will make you feel more alive each day? And this is something that is really dear to me because When I burnt out, I didn't know how to process any feelings. I was so numb. I didn't even know how to feel alive. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel depressed. I didn't know how to process my emotions in any way to know what they meant. And it took a lot of self reflection and long walks to actually break those emotions down and regulate them again. So, what three things could you do in the next year that will make you feel more alive each day? Next is deep connection. So, what are three things that you could do to deepen your relationship with others? Be that your partner, a loved one, your family, or your friends. Next is a meaningful pursuit. So, what are the actions that you could take towards a meaningful pursuit in your life? What is the activity that you could do so that you would have that sense of fulfillment and purpose again? And finally, growth. Does this goal, if you were to achieve this goal, does it help you to grow? Does it help to level you up in one of the major areas of your life? Does it help in your health? Does it help in your finances? Does it help in your career? Does it help to deepen your relationships? Thanks again for listening. And if nothing else you get from this other than not setting a New Year's resolution on a whim on 31st of December and forgetting about it a week into January, and actually taking the time to reflect on yourself and your own values, then that's more than enough of a win for me. Seriously, if you just take the next 2 or 3 weeks and just recap over these questions, 3 things that make you feel more alive, 3 things to deepen your relationships, an activity that gives you fulfillment and purpose, and what can help you level up in a major area of your life, what can help you to grow. If you just reflect on these questions, maybe the thing that you write down first time isn't going to resonate with you in a week or two, but if you write it down now and then reflect on it over the next couple of weeks, maybe you will change your mind. It's like, okay, maybe this suits me better. Or maybe you look back on it and you're like, no, this is very concrete. This is 100% my values, my beliefs. Then you know that if you were to follow through on at least one of those activities and followed it through until the end of 2024, you can look back and be like, yes, by achieving this over the year, I have grown in myself and I have lived true to my values and true to my overall purpose. So if you want to reach out, if there's anything you had difficulty or confusion with this episode, you can always reach out to me. I love messaging you back on Instagram, especially at eugene.leeway. You can just send me a DM or send me a voice note and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. You can reach out at giveyourselfsomeleeway.com. There you can book a call with me. We can have a chat on Zoom. Or you can shoot me an email at eugene@leeway.ie. Thank you, and until next time, take care.